Reaction Monday, Victory Monday, the sixth straight here on S&L, presented by TDECU, the greatness that is TDECU. Get that fresh new Texans debit card. TDECU.org/Texans. You get 15% off the team shop. It is a lovely thing. Cody Stoots has it. You should have it as well. Shout out to TDECU for doing all they do and sponsoring Reaction Monday. Get that 15% off, perhaps just in time for Christmas. I don't speak for the shipping. I just know you get your 15% off. Membership is required, insured by NCUA.
Yeah, they do a great job. Your credit union, not just a slogan, they mean it. And you get great perks when you're a member at TDECU.
All right, so let's just get into this game. The Texans beat the Arizona Cardinals. I think we expected the Texans to beat the Arizona Cardinals. Some expected a blowout. But we did see some things, specifically something that was a massive surprise. I don't know how to really assess it, but the breakout of Jawar Jordan for me is the most relevant thing for a number of reasons. My question for you right off the top, the most relevant thing, what does this look like moving forward? D'Amico Ryans was asked about it today, kind of asked about Jawar Jordan. This is what he had to say about Jawar Jordan. The first, by the way, the first 100-yard rusher that the Texans have had in 2025. Here's what D'Amico had to say about it.
For the most part, I thought Jawar made good decisions with the way he was running the football. We still can clean up some of our blocking assignments and how we're blocking. For the most part, he made some good cuts. He was able to hit an explosive play on him because he made a good cut. Just him slashing downfield, taking what was there. I thought he did a really good job of benefiting off of some of the good blocks that we did have. He did a good job of that.
I mean, D'Amico laid it out there. I mean, Jawar did a great job taking advantage of what was there. A fantastic performance. And I think Jonathan Alexander asked the question I think everybody wanted to know. Hey, did really well. Does that get him more playing time, D'Amico?
We'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But I think more so for right now in this game on yesterday is just, giving Jawar his praise for what he was able to accomplish. I thought he did an outstanding job, again, of taking advantage of the opportunity that was presented to him. And he did a great job of, gaining over 100 yards, rushing, making some explosive runs for us. So it's just a credit to Jawar for right now. We'll deal with the other issue, when we get there. But for right now, credit to Jawar.
Oh, look, we'll get into the win. We'll get into the big moments. But I think just as far as the most relevant thing that could have happened against Arizona, I think this is it. And this is why we're starting here. And I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what the odds would have been if you would have told me that we're going to start the week, the week 15 edition of S&L amidst a playoff push, talking about Jawar Jordan and how he factors in moving forward. But I think it's relevant, Cody, because there's been a void at running back ever since we got the news of Joe Mixon. There's been a clear usage crisis when it comes to Woody Marks, where I don't think he's a bell cow workhorse running back, and we can kind of see that kind of wearing him down a little bit. But he is a complimentary guy. But the problem is they don't have anyone else that they can really share equally with him. And I'm not saying whether Jawar Jordan is or is not that guy, but you do wonder, like, is this perhaps something that the Texans gained by accident, a running back who gives them a much needed dynamic to an offense that can use all the possible explosive dynamics that they could down the stretch?
Yeah, give them a running back that you could trust, a body that you could trust at that position that you didn't have outside of Woody Marks and on a very small occasion, Nick Chubb, because they had really, knocked down the amount of reps and opportunities that Nick Chubb had in some of those games. And certainly in some of the games where they leaned on the rushing attack and they'd handed running back one to Woody Marks and he'd earned it, however you want to phrase it. Like, you just needed more bodies that you could trust. And if he could do some of the same things that Woody Marks can do, you can keep Nick Chubb in that very specialized role. You can keep Dare Ogunbowale even more in a specialized role. And if he gives you, even some of what Woody Marks does on a consistent basis, that helps this rushing attack that, as we know, would be falling apart if they just didn't have Woody Marks and they didn't have somebody like Jawar Jordan to at least find out.
Yeah, and I guess the pushback would be, and I think it's logical pushback. That's why I believe you need to see it a little bit more. Well, you played Arizona, and Arizona is, the 20th worst rush defense in the league, and they don't have a lot of their guys and all that. That's true. But do you think Nick Chubb was going to run for 100 yards? Like, do you think Dare Ogunbowale was going to come in there and run for 100 yards? Like, that's the thing. Like, on one hand, it's, well, yeah, your practice squad running back ran for this many yards. On the other hand, it's, should he have been the practice squad running back? Because that's been one of the biggest knocks on this team. And we said it back at training camp. We weren't being trite when we said Nick Chubb is by far the least explosive running back on this team. 1, 2, 3 Chubb stuff. And Dameon Pierce wasn't practicing at the time. And you have a season where Dameon Pierce lingers around, unplayable Dameon Pierce lingers around until you finally release him. Woody Marks goes from not being used enough to get to running through a brick wall to where he limped off the field yesterday. D'Amico said he could have returned. Dare Ogunbowale is Dare Ogunbowale. And then Jawar Jordan comes in, and the running backs, even Woody Marks, the brief time he was in there, looked fine. Without Nick Chubb, the running backs look more explosive than they have all season, whether it's a good team or not. They've played bad teams and not been able to run the ball this year. So you do wonder, maybe you lucked into something to where you can figure it out. But then you also wonder, well, how do they handle this once they get Woody Marks healthy and once whatever's going to happen with Nick Chubb happens?
Yeah, here's what I would say about Jawar Jordan. The likelihood is that that's a one-off and that's not who he's going to be every week, and that was a rarity, and he can give you some of that on a somewhat consistent basis. Like, that is the most likely outcome of all of this. The potential is that he is a worthwhile compliment that you feel good about putting on the football field with Woody Marks down the stretch. That'd be great. Here's what I do know. You can't find out either way or anything in between if you don't give him opportunities. If he doesn't end up on the roster and you don't factor in chances for him to run the football. And so that's the big thing coming out of this one that they got to figure out this week. And they've carried 4 running backs on the roster for a good portion of this season. Get this guy off the practice squad, get him into the regular rotation at running back. And yeah, if it doesn't work in a couple of weeks, so be it. At least you found out. We don't want to be sitting here at the end of the Chargers game, at the end of the Colts game, or in the playoffs and still wondering, well, is there anything to Jawar Jordan? Well, they never gave him another chance after he had the only 100-yard rushing game of the season. So playoffs. To me, he has earned the opportunity to find out about him on this roster as a 53-man roster member, not just a practice squad guy.
Well, I think he's an extremely valuable piece regardless of what the scenario is. And it could be extremely short-term, or it could be for the remainder of the season, or it could be somewhere in between, because I think at the very least, as a 14.5-point favorite against the Raiders and Woody Marks limping off the field for, I think, the 8th straight week, I think you could at least let Jawar Jordan carry the load with whoever and give Woody Marks some much needed rest before you go face the Chargers. So I think you could have that. Then you can see what he looks like and how he fits into things. But the thing that I would say though, Cody, is this: like, yeah, we can focus on what Jawar Jordan is or may not be. And you can still be conservative and try to channel it and say, well, this could be a one-off, and we don't know, and he's not the second coming. But here's how I'll look at it. Do I think Jawar Jordan is RB1? No, I still think Woody Marks is a better player. But I think there's a better chance that Jawar Jordan can be a solid, even with this small sample size, a solid half of a duo with Woody Marks, more so than I do Nick Chubb at this point. Because Nick Chubb is what he is. There's no ceiling with Nick Chubb. Like, if Nick Chubb is a short yardage guy, if Nick Chubb's a guy that you trust in run protection, that's fine. But as far as getting 50% of the pie, I don't have much confidence in Nick Chubb at that point. So if somehow Jawar Jordan can give a hint and provide a hint of what he did on Sunday, I think it's more valuable than what you're getting from Nick Chubb right now.
Certainly. I think the best use of Nick Chubb is a highly specialized situational use of him. And you can maximize him in some very tough running, shorter yardage situations. Or, hey, this guy needs a breather, this guy needs a breather. Or, hey, Jawar Jordan needs a breather and Woody's in the blue tent. Let's give Chubb a couple of carries. But the days of 15 or more Nick Chubb carries, they should be over. And you can feel a little bit better about those carries being distributed to Woody Marks and maybe Jawar Jordan after this performance, as opposed to just, well, we're just going to run Woody into the ground and whatever Chubb gives us, Chubb gives us. I think those days of like really relying on Nick Chubb, you can dial that back so that when you really only want and need to put Nick Chubb in the game, maybe it's a short yardage, hard run thing, you can, and you can rely more on Woody Marks and then hopefully a little bit of Jawar Jordan.
Swarm.
Tazewell says defense wins championships. Texans go into the AFC championship at least.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Justin Harding says just getting in, but what if this is like 2009 Arian Foster?
Well, then the Texans are about to have a kick-ass offense and make a little run here. If Jawar Jordan turns into even a poor man's Arian Foster, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I would not quite bet on that at the very least. D'Amico Ryans, by the way, did not seem overly impressed with the defense yesterday. He was actually pretty hard on the defense and said that they did not reach the standard that he has set.
From that game, defensively, that game was not up to our standard. So there are a ton of things that we can improve upon, a ton of things that we need to get better at, things that we worked that we didn't play up to our standard defensively. So we have a lot to go out and improve.
I really didn't. I mean, I get that. I get it, but I mean, they didn't have to. Like, I feel like if they had to, I think they would have. And that some might say, well, what kind of I just don't think they had to. Like, when they have to get a stop of Josh Allen, they get a stop of Josh Allen. When they have to get a stop of Patrick Mahomes, they get a stop of Patrick Mahomes. If special teams, and by the way, we're 12 minutes into this, and I'd be damned if I didn't mention that special teams, this might have been a close game without special teams, if we're being honest. Like, there have been times where special teams has been bailed out, most notably Jacksonville. You overcame the special teams piss poor effort, but the special teams in this game were elite. Like, this might have been a close game. So, I mean, God forbid that special teams pick up a check every once in a while. I mean, granted, the defense, whenever you go to like Fleming's or B&B or Taste of Texas, they're buying the check, but it's nice for special teams to at least get the tab at Chili's. Like, well, at least the special teams and the offense, at least they chipped in and bought the dinner at Chili's.
Well, and even then, the defense is like, no, please let me pay. And special teams is like, no, we got this. Offense like, we got this. And then defense is like, well, just let me leave the tip. And you're like, sure. And then they leave like a gaudy tip for the dinner. And you're like, oh, they allowed 20 points. Like, go look across the National Football League and see how many teams couldn't stop the other opposing team from scoring 20 points.
It's a high standard. It goes back to the honor student. It's a high standard. And, Will Anderson didn't record a statistic and all that. And, but I mean, like, I thought that the defense was fine. They did what they needed to do. And I like the McBride going crazy. I don't know, as good as he is, I think they're so bad that you just don't even have to dedicate a lot of attention. You almost just like, okay, we'll live with it. Like, and I think Adam Wexler brought up a good point in the locker room today, is like, you look at the best tight ends, like all of them are on crap teams. Like all of them, all these like statistically productive tight ends, they're all on crap teams. Like, it's so I maybe there is a standard. I didn't watch that and say, what's wrong with the defense at any point. I didn't feel that.
I mean, you look at what the defense did, and the one that I really point to and I think about and I look at is, okay, it's 33-20, and the Texans get the ball, and it's like, okay, can the offense put the Cardinals away? Is this where they put the bow on this thing and they wrap it up? And they don't. They end up punting the football, and one of the few times they didn't score on a drive all day long. And the Cardinals get the football. Special teams pins them deep, and nothing. They get nothing. They go 3 and out. Like on a drive where they have the opportunity to cut it to a 1-score game with about half the quarter left, they get nothing. The defense gives them nothing. The Texans get the ball back. They end up putting the finishing touches on that thing, going up 40-20. That's the final margin. At no point did I feel like the Cardinals offense was going to get into this game.
No, I didn't at all. Like, and really, I mean, if you want to point to one moment for the defense, I think if we're going to point to one group, I would say the safeties could have had a better day. I thought that outside of that, I thought the run game of Arizona was kept in check. I don't know, like maybe you can assign blame on the McBride thing if you want, like maybe you can go safeties and stuff, but there was the one penalty on Petrie on 4th down that would have all but ended the game. Arizona ended up cutting it to a 2-possession game, but I get what the standard is, but I felt like the defense did more than enough to put this thing away.
Well, you don't have to show or get deep into your actual like play calling, attack the opposing team style of defense when you're comfortable with the offense and how they're performing that day. You just go out there, execute the basics, and you don't have to show any exotic blitzes. You don't have to do that to get after. You don't have to move Will Anderson around and use him like, maybe you haven't used him before. You just go out there and let it play out. And all they had was McBride. And guess what? Nobody stopped him this year. Nobody. The guy gets his stuff every week. Every week. And then they had nothing else. Michael Wilson was one of the hottest receivers in football coming into this game. He didn't get anywhere close to making an impact till the middle of the third quarter.
Yeah, he had a nice little move on Stingley where he faked the go and came back, but it wasn't anything too crazy. I thought the defense was fine. I get the standard, and I wouldn't expect anything different from D'Amico Ryans, but I wasn't like tripping on the defense.
I mean, these are the same guys that Kamari Lassiter is probably the best about it. They beat Kansas City. They have a fantastic game. Mahomes has one of the worst games of his life. And
never mind. I do have a complaint. Go ahead.
And then Kamari Lassiter's like, yeah, we did this okay, but like we got to get back in the film room. We got to clean this up. We got to be better at that. So like if he's saying that after a big win against Kansas City, you have to imagine that mentality carries over into, hey, we got 20 points to the Cardinals, guys. We can't do that again. It's like, okay. What's your complaint?
I got a massive complaint. We'll do it in landlocked moments. There was something that was very unacceptable by this defense. Very unacceptable by this defense.
Well, okay, I'm excited to hear this.
Get to it in landlocked moments. First, though, on the chat, it felt they couldn't get any pressure with 4 yesterday. Perhaps, I mean,
they've had trouble with the 4-man pressures, getting pressure with the 4-man pressures for a couple of weeks now, and I would think that there's probably an adjustment and a change and a little bit of a tweak that D'Amico Ryans has to bring to the table on that.
Kane asks a question. What would be more valuable to this offense, top 5 tight end or top 5 RB?
Give me the top 5 running back.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
You drop a top 5 running back into this. Like, imagine if you drop Derrick Henry onto this team or Devon Achane. Obviously, they do different things, but like if you had that guy plus Woody Marks, like, holy crap.
Hard to stay in it when you're up 17-0 in the first, says Ricardo. I think he was there yesterday.
Yeah, he saw me on the freeway going to the game. Somebody's honking at me, and I'm on the phone, hands free by the way, and I'm like, "What's this?" And I look to the left, and it's him, and he's honking and he's waving. He's with his lady. I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And then I tried to talk to him on the freeway like an idiot, thinking that he could hear me.
Yeah, there's no doubt. All right, so let's go through the landlocked key moments here on Reaction Monday, presented by the greatness that is TDECU. Get that Texans debit card. TDECU.org/Texans. 15% off the team shop. Membership required. Insured by the NCUA. Key moments. Right off the top. Doesn't get much bigger than the second play of the game. CJ Stroud finds Nico Collins for 57 yards. Texans take a 7-0 lead. This was kind of like a let down these nuts type of moment where you immediately kind of could breathe a little bit, because I know a lot of people were very confident in this game, but that was just kind of a, hey, relax. It's all good. Your ballers got you.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the two guys you trust the most on offense. And it's not like it was some like easy throw or anything like that. I mean, it was a pretty significant window. CJ got it, fitted in there, and then Nico just turned on the Jets. And I also thought it was pretty symbolic. The only player you're super scared about on the Cardinals defense is Budda Baker, and Budda Baker takes a bad angle on that, and Nico takes it to the house. And it's like, yeah, probably going to be one of those days for the Cardinals, and maybe going to be one of those days for you on offense. So it was a really good job by Stroud and Nico. Stroud said after the game that was something that he and Nico had talked about seeing that week, that they were going to be able to see. And if that happened, they'd be able to do something close to that. And when you know it, 7-0 before you even sit down in your seat with the popcorn.
Yep. And then right off the top, right after that, special teams, you immediately get more points. Jamal Hill, absolutely lays the wood, and the ball falls right into Dare Ogunbowale's arms. Dare Ogunbowale has to be just living so good, man. Like, the ball just falls right into his arms. And not only does the ball fall into his arms, now the Texans, the offense stalls and they have to settle for 3, but the broadcast is giving all the credit to Dare for the play. You would have thought Jamal Hill had nothing to do with it if you were watching the broadcast.
Well,
all they did was talk about how awesome Dare was, and they didn't even mention Jamal Hill.
Well, it's Chris Myers and Mark Schlereth.
I mean, I was like, whoa, what a hit by Jamal Hill. And they're just like, oh, that Dare Ogunbowale always around the place. Oh, what a play by him.
Well, I'm shocked that Chris Myers and Mark Schlereth might have misrepresented a big moment in a football broadcast.
All right, so then we get to some weirdness as the Texans are up 10-0. They tie the franchise record for first quarter points with 17 after CJ Stroud, QB sneak, by the way, alive. So it was a QB sneak week. But they snapped the ball through CJ Stroud's legs to Woody Marks. The banged up Woody Marks jumps in the end zone almost like a pinball, scores a touchdown at 17-0. And we find out, courtesy of D'Amico, courtesy of CJ, and I talked to Jake Andrews about it today, that they thought CJ Stroud was going to be in shotgun, but he wasn't. And the ball just happened to flip to Woody Marks, and Woody Marks gets a touchdown. So it goes down officially as a fumble recovery TD.
Yeah, based on how the line looked like they were blocking, as well as what Stover was doing as he was coming in for that play, it looked like it was going to be a handoff to Woody Marks anyway. The ball ends up in his hands. He does a great job very cleanly scooping it up off the ground, and then he just looked like he hit a trampoline. He just flew into the end zone. He was not going to be stopped. And it was a great job by Woody Marks. Obviously, a miscommunication between CJ Stroud and Jake Andrews. Andrews puts a shotgun snap there. CJ said after the game, yeah, I must have said shotgun, or I might have said shotgun. And then it just ends up in Woody's hands. And he sees ball and takes it into the end zone. And that was the last time we saw Woody Marks that day.
Tavis Stapleton on the chat. Trust me, I was not going to browse over this. The Dare Ogunbowale Wildcat needs to be thrown in the fucking garbage.
Yeah, don't do the Dare Cat anymore.
Yeah, and then it got even worse at the end of the game when Jawar Jordan has a nice hard run to get 100 yards, and then they decide they're going to do some trick, Dare Ogunbowale reverse pass type of joint or whatever the hell they were trying to do there. If you want to run the Wildcat with Nick Chubb, whatever. I would rather just keep the ball in the quarterback's hands. That's just me because I feel like he makes plays in those situations. But if you are going to do that with Nick Chubb, whatever. But the Dare Ogunbowale Wildcat, let's just get rid of that, please. I don't know. There's not a person in the world that would even consider that, or an organization in the world that would consider that except here.
Yeah, I'm done with the Dare Cat. No more Dare Cat. Also, I don't know if you saw it, but sure looked like Woody Marks was out for the season when he got hurt initially. Like it looked like he was in terrible amount of pain, and then a few minutes later I looked up and I was like, oh, he is going to be at the Oscars. Okay.
Yeah, and my sleeper busted because I had no McBride touchdown, which is my fault. That happens. But I also had no Woody Marks touchdown because I thought he was too banged up to play. Well, he goes to the sidelines, then he comes back in and he gets a touchdown. Crazy touchdown. Good for him, though. I was happy for him to get the touchdown.
Well, I guess doesn't officially count for him as a rushing touchdown.
But it was a touchdown, anytime touchdown.
There's some fantasy sites that aren't counting that.
Yeah, I put it as an anytime, which is a weird fantasy site to do that. But yeah, the Dare Cat, let's get rid of that. So then Arizona scores. The overall theme here is McBride is probably very popular and unpopular today for fantasy owners. Anytime a tight end gets 12 catches, 2 touchdowns, there's a chance that you have a good chance to lose. And this is playoff time. So legend being made with good old Trey McBride.
Well, D'Amico said it in the week, and then you really saw it, not only in this drive, but this is where you really started to see it. They get him the ball in a ton of different ways. Screens, running out of the backfield, short stuff, stop and turn around and let him be a big body and just try to plow through people, getting him streaking down the middle of the field. Like, they just throw him the ball in so many different ways. And, it hadn't helped them. I mean, they'd be nothing without him. Like, nobody else was getting open or really doing anything consistently in that first half. Like, he was their offense for most of this game.
Yep. Then we go to the second quarter. The Texans, they had 3 points. Now, this was the most pissed off. This was a key moment. I've never seen D'Amico Ryans this pissed off. Well, I've never seen him pissed off during a game. I've definitely seen him as pissed off. But I haven't seen him this pissed off during a game. Blake Fisher reportedly doesn't report eligible, which negates a 27-yard catch by Nico Collins. Now, CJ does find Xavier Hutchinson for his lone catch of the game. By the way, the wide receivers, 5 catches on the night, which is not awesome. But then you look at the production at tight end and the production in the by the running backs in the pass game, and it kind of feels like CJ Stroud's just taking what the defense gives him, which is what we've been asking for. But then go ahead.
That spreading it out thing and when the tight ends have that much work, that to me is just a sign of a fairly healthy day for the way this offense wants to operate, because it's very much CJ not forcing anything. Okay, Nico, Higgins, there's Dalton. Nico, Higgins, there's Cade. And like, he found those guys just sitting in the open area a ton. And that usually to me is like, okay, that's a sign of a healthy day for them on offense when he is hitting big plays to the receivers, but then there's all that, just keep the thing on track and keep the thing on time with the tight ends. I mean, 11 catches between the two guys, almost 100 yards and a touchdown. It's a good job by the tight ends.
Yeah, and I thought the 3rd and 14 play was kind of an under the radar good play, good mindset for CJ to have, especially once you play better teams. He ran out of bounds and got the closer field goal attempt. Without doing that and with perhaps forcing the ball downfield, you might not kick a field goal there, but they were able to, and they kicked a 55-yard field goal to take the 20-7 lead. Then we get another field goal settled. I thought that Dalton Schultz and Stover, this was the best representation. Texans drive number 5. This was the best representation of, maybe the only, of 2 tight ends making plays at the same time. We have not seen that. This was Dalton Schultz's best game during a really good season, and this was Cade Stover's best game during a somewhat blah-ish, not non-statistically impressive season. And I thought this was, as the trend continues of CJ taking what the defense gives him, I thought this was a representation of CJ continuing to make plays, stalling in the red zone, but that's just kind of part of the package right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can live with a stall when the other team doesn't present as much of an offensive threat, and to turn that thing into 23-7, you'll be fine. At that point, you're thinking to yourself, just score on as many of these offensive possessions, 3s or 7, and then it's going to end up in the win column, because the Cardinals had not shown any really ability to present any sort of danger to your defense at that point.
Yeah, and then there's a sack by Autry on 4th and 2 to give the Texans a chance to get points. However, the 52-yarder by Kaimi Fairbairn is blocked, which keeps the score at 23-7 Texans. So there we go.
Couple of things. I thought that the Texans operation from a headset standpoint was good in getting them into field goal range in that spot.
Yeah, they get closer and then spike it.
Schultz not getting out of bounds and letting himself get popped and not getting out of bounds.
Bad call. That was a bad call. They didn't make a big deal about it, but he didn't get pushed backwards till he'd already stepped out. That they didn't look at it, but they should have. He actually did. Like he didn't lower. If you go back and watch it, his foot is out of bounds. He gets hit like right at the line simultaneously, and that's when he goes back. But if you look at it, he actually did step out moving forward.
I also thought that official got heavily influenced by the sideline of the Cardinals, who were immediately screaming.
Good job by them. But yeah, if you look at it, he got out and then he braced himself because he was going to get hit. And it was one of those like simultaneous, like not a penalty or anything, but he had already touched the line before he went back.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, and maybe it's a little bit more understandable. It cost them their last time out, and they did a good job getting a few more yards and then ultimately spiking it and getting the field goal off. And the only play I thought the only play I saw Calais Campbell make all day was that one. So
he's old, Cody.
Well, Aaron Wilson talked about him like he was freaking Reggie White.
Wanted to tag the agent. Come on. He wanted to tag the agent.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
You know that. I know that.
Calais Campbell's played a bunch of games, and he's kind of like the Reggie White of the Cardinals.
Campbell, why do you keep calling him Calais?
Calais, whatever.
Show some respect for that guy. He's a good football player.
I thought you were about to drop the L word on him. I was like, okay, yeah, he's a longevity guy, but he's certainly not a legend.
Nah, I'm not going to say that. By the way, this Friday, we will be live. S&L, we will be live. BB's, Tex Orleans, and Kingwood this Friday. We'll be there. Be there or be square. Live broadcast, drinks, food, the Voodoo Happy Hour. It's going to be fun. Oh, by the way, the college football playoff starts that day. A little Alabama versus OU. So don't threaten me with a good time. College football playoffs are upon us. We'll see you live. BB's, Tex Orleans. We're going north this Friday. I was also trying to get maybe just like a college football hang going at Spanky's on Saturday. Cody kind of squashed that. He's not really down, so it's okay. We'll do that some other time. But yeah, anyway, we'll see you at BB's. Cody not down with that, which is fine.
I need a little like arcade sound when they put like a coin in the game, in the machine. Because like I'd be rich if I had a nickel about every time you lied about me.
Would anyone want to go watch the A&M game at 11 a.m. at Spanky's on Saturday? Now, we want you at BB's too, but would anyone want to go watch the A&M game 11 a.m. at Spanky's on Saturday? Let us know. All right, so we get to the third quarter, and this is my big issue right here with the defense. Massive. I think this is dangerous, potentially season-ending decision by the defense, and hopefully D'Amico said something about it. So right off the top, Arizona, they threatened to score, threatening to make it a game, 23-7. Kamari Lassiter gets the interception. Kamari Lassiter, absolute dog. No one is going to dispute that Kamari Lassiter. I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog. Absolute dog, absolute freak. Got to be one of the 20 best corners in football. Don't know. I'm just saying that. I don't have like a list in front of me, but he's good. He makes the interception, and then, brother, I saw you walking on Friday. I've seen you not practice except twice the last week. I don't need you doing a backflip with a bad foot, my friend, especially after the interception. There are flukier things have happened with less extreme celebrations. Kamari, no backflips if you're not going to practice Monday through Thursday and you're going to have a hurt foot on the injury report, okay? We don't need that, my friend.
Where's the hat that you usually wear? Where's your red hat? Where's your red hat? Because people have called the NFL the no fun league. How about no fun Landry right now? No fun Landry. Oh, you did something awesome. You kept points off the board. You're not allowed to celebrate, Kamari Lassiter. No fun Landry strikes again.
No. Playoff Landry strikes again. You can make the plays. You can do whatever you want. You could do the snake. You could even get a penalty. You could get a penalty. You could do the DX crotch chop. I just don't need to see a guy with a hurt foot doing a backflip.
No fun Landry.
Yeah, you damn right. Texans respond right after that. A touchdown by Dalton Schultz. 3rd and goal, CJ. I thought this was nice. CJ actually doing what he's been doing since he came back. And this all started as a result of the Jordan drive. You had Jawar Jordan with a 15-yard reception, then Jawar Jordan with a 50-yard run. Then Dare moved the chains on an out. I thought this was well done by him.
That was a great catch by him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fingertips. He had to kind of adjust it in the air and pull it down. He got 8 when they needed 6. That was a great catch by him.
Yes, 100%. And then Dalton gets the catch. Then McBride continues to do his thing, 30-14. And then really Jalen Knoll, I thought, kind of ended it. We talked about special teams. They had gotten it to a full 2-possession game, which it's still a 2-possession game. But Jalen Knoll's 69-yard return made it 33-14. And the Texans really, after that, they never really looked back. And that was really the end of it. So there you go. Those are the landlocked key moments. The Raiders are next. Texans open as a 14.5-point favorite. And I don't know that the Raiders really even want to win. But those are the moments here on Reaction Monday presented by TDECU.
Just a quick note about the Raiders. There have been 5 shutouts in the NFL this season. The Raiders are responsible for being shut out twice. That's how freaking bad they are. Oh, they are just terrible. I do feel like you mentioned the Jalen Knoll thing. There is one particular thing that I think is really important about how Jalen Knoll had this opportunity, had this game. And we asked D'Amico Ryans about special teams, and he said, well, they started to block better and they started to get off blocks better. It's okay. Thanks. But the biggest thing to me is you had to kick the ball to Jalen Knoll or you had to kick it out of bounds. They only put 1 returner back there. They had been using 2 returners on kickoffs, but they only put Knoll back there as the returner, forcing you to either kick it to him or kick a touchback. And I thought that was a nice change. For good job by Frank Ross. I don't know why it took this long, but I have to think that the fact that they only kicked it to Tremont Smith the previous week had a lot to do with let's just use 1 returner and force them to kick it to Jalen Knoll.
Yeah, it's probably smart. That's probably smart. He is really good.
So that's a good move by the coaching staff to force it there, and then eventually the Cardinals were like, well, we're not going to get it to him anymore.
By the way, Braxton Berrios did not get released, so there you go. He's still alive.
Yeah. Cody Schrader did. Thanks for coming. That's so they could bring back Harrison Bryant.
Yep, there it was. All right. So, yeah, BB's this Friday. Maybe Spanky's on Saturday. I don't know. We got to talk Cody into it, assuming he wants to watch the A&M game up there. Just a little hang. Not even like a broadcast or anything. Cody's just kind of overthinking it. Wiggles Ming on Z Chat.
Swarm.
Says Derek Barnett was furious about the chip block by McBride. Is chip blocking considered dirty? I don't know. I think Will Anderson was pissed about getting poked in the eye or something like that too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, is chip blocking? I mean, I doubt you like getting chipped. I know they've gotten rid of crackback blocks, so
Guys hate anything involved with attacking their knees. So, it's maybe you think it's dirty or it was late or, guy went maybe too high. Like, I don't know, but Barnett was not pleased. 15-yard penalty.
Wiggles says that the Derek Barnett thing. Bryce says, did y'all hear about Jawar crediting his breakout game to his Manta sleep mask? Also, are there any free agent DTs you could see us signing?
I have not scoured the free agency from a defensive tackle standpoint, and my thought process is they probably don't love many of those guys, considering they claimed a guy off waivers last week. But yeah, no Mario Edwards Jr. going forward. He has a torn pectoral. He's out for the year. D'Amico Ryans announced that, and they didn't bring a free agent defensive tackle in after Tim Settle. They claimed a guy off of waivers, played him a little bit this past week. I would think they'll probably be looking at the waiver wire, and I mean, I could scour the free agency for defensive tackles, but they didn't like it last week, so I can't imagine that's changed much for them.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. But they announced the season-ending injury.
They also have, they have a couple of guys on the practice squad, Marlon Davidson, Junior Tafuna, and Haggai Ndebisi. And then Kurt Heinisch is technically with the organization, but I've seen Bigfoot more than I've seen him.
No, he's been there all year. Come on. Don't be ridiculous. He's been there all year.
Well, he wears a lot of camo, so I miss him sometimes.
Yeah, but he's been there all year. Don't be silly. He's not Joe Mixon. If you're talking about him like he's Joe Mixon or something like that, we see Heinisch weekly.
Yes, I don't know if he can play football this year or not, but there are some in-house options that I would think they would consider strongly before they go to free agency. Because I got to imagine a defensive tackle sitting around as a free agent probably acts a little bit differently than like a running back or a wide receiver or somebody like that sitting around in free agency.
What if they find another Tommy Togiai like they did?
Wouldn't that be nice, right?
Cougar 6871 says, bet on Will Anderson, Defensive Player of the Year, 13-1. If Myles Garrett didn't exist, I'd be a happy man, but he does. Also, Stroud is him, always has been.
Yeah, unfortunately, your Defensive Player of the Year tickets for Will Anderson are not coming home to cash. Myles Garrett's going to win that award. And then, yes, CJ had a great game yesterday.
CJ's been good. D'Amico Ryans agrees. Here's what D'Amico had to say, and shout out to Travis once again. Here's Coach on D'Amico. Coach on CJ.
Yesterday with his decision making, again, keeping his eyes downfield, being able to see, when the receivers do uncover on the scramble drill. Dalton has done a really good job of, having that connection, being on the same page with CJ, and CJ's eyes are up and he's trying to find him. He's not trying to run the football, right? But we also have that threat of him running, which we know it presents a problem to the defense. So him having that threat allows our receivers to have even more time to uncover, and that's what you saw, him and Dalton just being on the same page and CJ making that connection to get us in the end zone.
Really good day, efficient from CJ Stroud, in control for the majority of the game, got sacked once. It felt like everybody on the offense, did their job really well at different times throughout the course of the game, and it all just worked. They scored on most of the drives that they had. I know some of those red zone trips and some of those settling for field goals are a little disappointing, but if you're going to score on 7 of 10 drives, you're going to win most of those football games.
People were asking about Foley Fatukasi in the chat. He's gone. They gave away his number.
They took his number away.
He's gone. He's done.
He doesn't even have a number.
Yeah, he's finished. What is it? Shuvandini? How are we pronouncing this? No, that's not Patrick Dean, Cody. You weirdo.
I didn't say that.
Delete the tush push, is what he says. That's not Patrick. That's not Patrick. Good Lord. Delete the push tush. The tush push.
I will say this for a guy that has a very limited job description on game day, Blake Fisher played like shit.
Well, what if he actually reported? He wasn't offsides.
Well, he got called for it.
He wasn't offsides, dude.
Well, he got called for it, and the official said he didn't report. And on the very first play of the game, some linebacker ragdolled his ass. And so I'm just like, you have a very limited job description. You have to be good at it when you have a limited job description. And he wasn't good at it.
Yes. I don't know whether he did or not. D'Amico was mad. It does seem like on one hand, you can say, well, he does it every time in practice and he's done it. But on the other hand, you can say it was the only time they called it on him. So clearly did they just randomly decide he was it like what they're used to him reporting.
They announce it.
Yeah. So that like they're used to it. So I think D'Amico was kind of, and then he got asked a question where someone said that they noticed that Blake reported eligible. Like, come on, are we really looking that close?
This is fake. That's fake.
It's a fake.
Yeah, that's Photoshop. That's fake.
D'Amico got asked like a
teed-up
question. Yeah, I noticed that Blake did report eligible. It was like, did you hear it over the PA or anything like that? Are we really watching that close? Gavin King lifts. He says, off-topic question, but I'm curious, after covering the team for a long time, do you guys find yourself becoming fans of the team, or do you separate the work from the fandom? For me, like as soon as I started working in media, my fandom really just kind of, it is what it is. I want the team to do well. I do. It's better for me, especially in the new age of media where we're digital beat guys. It's better for them to do well. I don't want them to do bad. It's not New York. It's not Dallas. There's no thriving off of negativity. But yeah, I always try to balance, and maybe sometimes you lean a different way, but I try to balance journalistic integrity, covering a team, being a voice of fans, and all that. So
yeah. I think I feel pretty strongly about my ability to separate my fanhood rooting interest of the team and how I cover the team and how I approach it. You know, yeah. And I'm not the same type of fan that I am like, you know, when I had season tickets up there in 618 when I was in high school. You know, I'm not that type of fan anymore. But yeah, I feel like we both do a really good job of being professionals.
Common Sense says, how about Seattle with 6 field goals to win?
Fuck them. Fuck the Seahawks. Sorry, I didn't. But they pissed me off yesterday. Losers. I mean, they won, but they're losers. Pissed me off.
You got to explain something to the people. Like, you gotta, like,
I had them.
That was the most passionate cussing in the history of this show that I've heard. Go ahead.
They're playing 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, a dead in the water Indianapolis Colts team. His fat ass can't even throw the ball 15 yards. And Sam Darnold and that offense is over here dilly-dallying, fucking around the whole game. They scored 0 touchdowns. I needed a Jackson Smith and Jigba touchdown to finish a touchdown parlay. I needed them to cover in the first half to finish 3 different round robins. Another individual bet in the first half. I needed them to win by just 3 points. Just 3 points. And I would just be somewhat not exposed. No, they win by 2. Screw the Seahawks. They're not Super Bowl contenders anymore in my eyes because of that horrendous performance yesterday. I love their kicker. He did a great job, but I didn't bet on him.
Trey Calhoun on the chat. How you doing, Trey? Hopefully better than Cody.
Swarm.
He says, I know our offense was good yesterday in the red zone, but geez, they make it look so hard and messy. Pause. From pre-snap to simple execution, it's like they don't have a playbook within 10 yards of the end zone.
It is funny that like they've tried some goofy stuff in the red zone.
And they're trying everything.
And some of it's worked. Like, I mean, a couple weeks ago, they handed the ball to Nico Collins and he scored a touchdown. So like some of it's worked, but they've tried so much goofy stuff and they've had so many issues that there was even a moment where people thought that snap was a design play, like something goofy and new they tried. It was very obvious to me from the very beginning that was a botched play. But there were people that were like, whoa, what an inventive play. Like, no, not inventive.
Even if it were inventive, it was pretty sad. Like, I liked the 3rd and 2 run up the middle with Jawar Jordan, but then they followed it up with like a just insane reverse. I just think the best case scenario is don't think too much and keep the ball in Seven's hands to where he can figure something out, especially if he's seeing the field the way he is. Like any play to me that doesn't involve CJ Stroud at least touching the football is a bad play. That's just kind of not a good idea for me.
Yeah, there's an element of, hey, the regular offense has not worked, so like try a couple of things, but there's also like maybe being too inventive. And I also felt like the offense, just like the regular offense, was working well enough that you just want to continue to run that in the red zone and just live or die by that. You don't have to get outside the box for it.
Correct. 100%. Correct. Cody's context here on Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU. Again, join us. We'll be at BB's Kingwood this Friday. I'll be at Spanky's. I'm going to watch the A&M game at Spanky's. You can join me if you would like. Cody does not want to go, but I will be out there watching the game, enjoying the best prices in town, most underrated wings. I think this Saturday I might go for some TNA. TNA this Saturday.
Oh, yeah?
Tater kegs and Alfredo.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. Tater kegs and Alfredo. Some TNA out there at Spanky's.
It's easy there, TB12. That's a bit of a stretch.
Cody's context here on Reaction Monday.
All right, talk about the defense. This is the first time they've allowed 20 or more points since the Jacksonville Jaguars game. And the Texans obviously came back and won that one. But they've allowed 20 or fewer points in 5 consecutive games. And they have the opportunity to push that to 8 in the regular season. So I went back and looked at the last 4 defenses that finished the year as the top in points allowed to see how many games in a row they allowed 20 or fewer points. Last year, the Chargers started the season with 9 games early in the season, 9 games in a row where they allowed 20 or fewer points. Now, they started to get scored upon a little bit in the back end of the season, and they weren't as consistent in keeping points off the board. The Baltimore Ravens, 2023, 6 games in a row that they allowed 20 or fewer points. 2022, San Francisco, 8 games in a row, but that had to carry over into the playoffs for them. 8 games in a row for San Fran. And then in 2021, the Buffalo Bills were number 1 in points allowed, but they only had a 3-game stretch where they allowed 20 or fewer points. So they were very much, riding the roller coaster there. So 5 in a row with 20 or fewer points can push it to 8 in a row if they do that the next 3 weeks to finish the season. If you're an offense with a pulse, you ought to be able to score 21 points. Like I don't think scoring 21 is something Herculean to ask. So I just thought that was interesting comparing them to the past 4 top points allowed defenses. Landry mentioned it earlier, Jawar Jordan's 100-yard rushing game is the first 100-yard rushing game of the season. His longest rush is also the longest rush of the season. His 50-yard rush equals the total of the 2 longest rushes by Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. Marks has a
Marks had a 52-yard reception.
Correct. But as far as rushes, his is the longest rush of the season.
Second longest play by a back.
I like that. That's good. That's Landry's context for you. His 6.7 yards per carry is the second best mark of the season amongst the top running backs, with the exception of Chubb in the Jacksonville Jaguars game. Chubb had like 9 yards of carry, but only had a handful of carries in that game. So I thought that was nice. This is the fastest point in a season that Nico Collins has gotten to 1,000 yards.
That's weird. But there's been injuries, obviously, but.
Correct. But this is the earliest week of the NFL season that he's gotten to 1,000 yards.
Does that surprise you?
It was a little surprising to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know he missed a month last year. So
last year it was the final week of the season that he got to 1,000 yards. 2 years ago, it was week 16. So he beat it by a week this year, week 15 this year.
Some good ass context here.
And then this one's a hat tip to Texans cap for this one, because he tweeted this out and I'm lifting it from him. Houston's average starting field position in 2024, the 27.1 yard line. The average starting field position in 2025, 33.1.
6 yard difference right there.
A 6 yard difference between 2024 and 2025. Yes. So I think that goes to show you they're a little bit more dangerous there on the returns than they were last year. I don't know who or where to go to find out exactly how much that 6 yards matters. But I have a hunch if I give Texans cap a project, he could probably figure it out. So,
well, I think it could be from, you do it from year to year on the kickoff, because there's like stats where they talk about the difference between the 30 and the 35 and the 20 and all that. So yeah, he'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah. There's gotta be like a percentage chance to score from this yard mark versus this yard mark. Like there's gotta be, here's what I know. He's smart enough to figure it out. So I appreciate him for that context, and that's Cody's context.
Swarm.
All right, that's Cody's context here on Reaction Monday, presented by the greatness of TDECU. On the chat, Mark Sanchez.
Oh, careful, Mark.
Says, LOL, damn Cody. I never seen you so irate, as calm and chill of a guy as you regularly are.
Significant financial investment.
Tate says, Kaylee is at his best when he can run the ball. When the opposing D shuts the run down, we look stagnant. I worry about this come playoff time. I think it's fair. So on one hand, I started this off saying, I'm not really going to be too critical of the defense for what they did against Arizona. I'm not going to sit here and act like the offense is turning the corner. I think the things that matter the most when it comes to this offense are CJ Stroud is playing really well. He seems to be seeing the field. He seems to be taking what the defense gives him. That's not really something that I look at as like a good operation of the offense. And we'll see what happens with Jawar Jordan. He does at least give you a little bit more hope of possibilities with the run game. But much like I'm not going to criticize the defense, I don't really look at this as like some sort of turning point for the offense, although there is a little bit of intrigue.
We talked about this last week. You don't have a true defensive test as an opponent, but you'd rather see building of confidence that maybe when you do have a truer test as a defensive opponent, you have a little bit better confidence and results in what you have been doing.
Big news from D'Amico today before we go through the positions. D'Amico Ryans, during his media availability, said that Mario Edwards Jr. will be done for the season. Aaron Wilson asked him about the impact of that.
Mario's done a great job for us all year. It's a steady player, consistent, brings great energy to our entire team. So really going to miss his presence.
Aaron here.
He can fly around on game day. He runs to the football with great effort, intent. Really loved what he brought to our unit. So we're missing him. We lost Settle. Losing Mario is going to be difficult to replace those guys.
Now, to be fair here, he really asked does this mean Naquan Jones is going to play more? And then D'Amico Ryans basically said, hey, Mario was important to us. We liked Mario.
Yeah, the sideline reporter was like, we got some very devastating news about a Texan starter. And I was like, oh, God. And then she was like, Mario Edwards Jr. is going back. I was like, oh, okay.
They announced 3 defensive tackles as starters yesterday.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been announcing like multiple linebackers. I haven't counted how many starters they're announcing, but it almost seems like it's like 15 now.
Yeah, they're getting a little
loose.
Yeah, they're getting a little loose there. And the guy called him Togi.
Ooh, it's okay. It's my boy up there in the press box.
Well, I tell you what, the guy in the press box had some rough moments.
The press box announcer, not the PA.
Yeah, the press box announcer guy had some rough moments.
Was it the backup or was it him?
I don't know.
Grooming someone or something like that.
There was some misidentification of players that were pretty significant.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the norm. I feel like that's part of the experience, quite frankly, at this point. I think it's just kind of part of the whole joint in the press box.
Swarm.
Rich Boy J says, does the Colts' performance yesterday make y'all any more concerned about Week 18? No, I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to be able to walk today. And I thought he sucked. Like their defense played out of their mind. They did everything to minimize him. The second that they had to throw, it was an inevitable interception. He was throwing ducks. He sucked. That was as good as they can possibly play. He was terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, to have any chance in any of the games that they're going to play, their defense is going to have a transcendent performance, and you're going to have to help them out as the opposing offense. And I would think by Week 18, a lot of those guys on defense are going to look around and be like, "F this, 1, 2, 3, Cancun."
The Rhino says, "Sup, my people," and I do mean my people. With Noel's success in the return game, do you think he's cooked as far as getting receiver reps? I wouldn't say that.
I mean, the slot guys have been persona non grata, basically. And when's the last time, I mean, Christian Kirk felt heavily involved for this team?
Baltimore fourth quarter.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've been getting production out of the tight ends. Nico's been good. Higgins had a stretch there where he was really good. They've been getting production elsewhere than the slot guys. And as much as I fully believe he could be dynamic on the offensive side of the ball, your dynamic contributions from Jalen Noel are going to primarily be on special teams.
The wide receiver snaps and they might start running a lot of 2 tight end. But Nico Collins 73%, Jaden Higgins 72%, and then you have Hutchinson at 30%, and then Kirk and Noel set at 24 and 16%. So that's just kind of where that is at the moment.
Yeah, they like those tight ends. Nick Haley has the opportunity to put those bigger bodies on there. Stroud found them, and it was working. And is there something there with Jalen Noel? I do believe yes. I don't know if we're going to see it on offense this year.
Yeah, I think it can still happen, right?
Yes, I mean, certainly, especially when you think about like some of the big plays he made in Seattle with CJ. It's not going to surprise me if we look up and against the Chargers, Jalen Noel has a 50-yard catch or something. Because that's not going to shock me.
All right, let's go through the positions here on Reaction Monday. CJ Stroud observations from the game against the Cardinals. I thought he was great. I give him an A. He was making plays on third down. He was seeing plays. I think some of the stuff that didn't even show up in the stat sheet was some of the most impressive stuff that might matter most once you play good teams. Most notably, buying time with his legs, throwing a pass that only Dalton Schultz could catch, resulting in a pass interference, which moved the ball to the 1 yard line. Now, the offense kind of stalled, but then CJ Stroud eventually threw a touchdown pass there. I thought that was one play. He did throw the touchdown pass there, right?
Say it again.
After the Schultz PI, he did, right? That was one of the third downs. I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so, yes.
But it led to points regardless and kind of the same type of impact. Then the play where he, on 3rd and 14, rather than forcing the pass, he used his legs to get out of bounds and get a 52-yard field goal attempt. I thought that was good by C.J. Stroud. There were also a couple times where he threw the ball away, where maybe he could have forced something. You combine that with all the throws and all the completions that he had to tight ends and backs. I thought C.J. Stroud played excellent. This was an A performance by him for me.
Fantastic job by C.J. Stroud, and the accuracy that sometimes had been a little iffy was ever present in this one. Some of the throws that he made some tight window stuff, some great decisions, as you put it, where only his guys could make or miss the catch. Excellent job.
Running backs, I mean, you got to give them an A as well. It almost got seen by accident. If Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, we might have never seen what Jawar Jordan could be capable of. I do think you balance it with what Arizona is, but I also would say Nick Chubb's not running for 100 yards. I can promise you that. So I thought this was the most explosive the running backs looked. Like the notion that Nick Chubb was by far the running back with the least amount of juice in training camp. It had a good day yesterday. It was delayed. It was a little bit of a delayed fuse because we never got to see all these guys without Nick Chubb out there. But I thought the running backs looked more explosive. It also felt like there was kind of a little bit more effort to get Jawar Jordan involved in the pass game and everything else and all this. I was like, where does Woody Marks get this treatment? And I know Woody's done a fine job, but there was that. I thought Woody Marks' contribution was solid, even though it was short. And I thought Dare Ogunbowale in that role, he had the fumble recovery. If we want to bring the running back position into the third phase, he had the fumble recovery on the Jamal Hill hit. And he had the nice reception. He looked good as the number 3 back. Get rid of that Wildcat, but I thought the running backs A as well.
It wasn't just like, oh no, the pass rush was here, throw it to the running back either. Like, it was like a design play to get the ball in Jawar Jordan's hands through the air. So let Woody Marks run that play a little bit. And yeah, heady play by Woody Marks to pick up the messed up snap, and great job by the running backs.
Next, wide receivers. Now, only 5 catches for the wide receivers, 2 touchdowns for Nico Collins on 3 catches. I still think they were fine. I don't think it's like every opportunity they had, they took advantage of. It looked like they were blocking pretty well on the perimeter, and the tight end production and the running back production in the receiving game was so high to where it was just kind of limited. But I thought Nico Collins set the tone. I thought his touchdown kind of stuck the middle finger up to Arizona. We're not going to look at the stats. You're not going to look at the stats and say it was good. I thought it was fine, though, based on opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you when you had the tight ends producing to that level and the rushing attack's working and you got a big lead, you don't need to throw it to the wide receivers. So, and Nico had a fantastic day.
Tight ends, the best that they've been. The best that they've been. Both guys had their best games of the year. Doesn't get much better than that.
Big thumbs up from those guys. Big thumbs up.
Offensive line.
Solid day. Really solid day. Both running backs, Jawar Jordan and Woody Marks, talked about how they were big creases to run through, and they were able to get to their cutback lanes after stuff didn't work, and only 1 sack of C.J. Stroud. And it's not like there were a lot of opportunities or moments where Stroud was dealing with a lot of pressure and it caused happy feet or anything. So good job by the offensive line in this one.
Yeah, that they were good. And who knows, the running back can make the offensive line look better. Who would have thunk it? So you had that the slip up, the near disaster by Jake Andrews on the snap, bailed out by Woody Marks. I asked Jake today, how do you shotgun snap it when someone's hands on your nuts? He said, well, the hands aren't on the nuts. I'm sure there's like a towel thing, but yeah, the offensive line looked fine. We'll get to the defense in a sec. First, let's give some credit where it's due. TDECU, where credit is due. They might not be Texans turf kings of the turf, but they do deserve some credit. Get that Texans debit card, tdecu.org/Texans, 15% off the team shop. Membership required, insured by the NCUA. Take it away, Cody.
Dalton Schultz, incredible performance by him. Lots of receptions, got the touchdown, drew the pass interference. So good job there by Dalton Schultz. Really good day by him. Kamari Lassiter, the interception. He also was another freaky monster moment as he came up and helped in the rushing defense. He loves to get,
and then did like a flip onto his feet, like on the ground. Like
he's a monster. And then Frank Ross is here as a representation of the entirety of the special teams. Jamal Hill obviously forces a fumble. The Texans get the ball. That gives him the opportunity to score more points right there very early on. Jalen Knowles returns. Jalen Knowles as the only returner, forcing them to kick it to Jalen Knowles. And, I'm sure somebody individually effed up on the blocked field goal, but special teams is good enough to earn their credit here. So Frank Ross and the special teams where credit is due.
There you go. Shout out to the great Frank Ross. He's back to being great. It appears the curse has been eliminated. D-line obs.
I'm just glad you took those needles out of that voodoo doll you have of Frank Ross.
D-line obs. We had a no-show by Will Anderson in two ways: a stat sheet and apparently with the media after the game. If you listen to what Will Kunkel said, not a lot of production, but you do have to factor in that the Arizona Cardinals run game was non-existent. And I think the D-line does deserve some credit for that. There was one play. Now they ended up getting the first down, but there was one play where Tommy Togi, I don't know how he got that low, but he got low enough to stop Jacoby Brissett on a QB sneak to where it was basically like, boom, head busting. And then Daniil Hunter at his 12th sack of the season, he continues to kind of pile up stats. But based on the standard of this D-line, I don't think it was a great performance. It was fine, but for the D-line, wasn't awesome. They can definitely wreck games better.
Then a couple of timely plays, the Danico Autry sack. Daniil Hunter got a sack in that one. Will officially is in the box score, though, with one QB hit.
Okay.
So officially in the box score with one QB hit, but yeah, they have much better performances than that one in their bag. And some of the Cardinals stuff was to try to limit or take away from them. And the way they attacked the ends from a blocking standpoint, some of the extra help that they brought in from time to time, I thought the Cardinals had a pretty decent plan to not let the two ends destroy the game.
Let's go to the linebackers. Now, the linebackers, I thought, were solid. Top two tacklers, Azeez Al-Shire and Henry To'oTo'o. Now, probably not the greatest day of coverage if we probably look closely at the success that McBride had. I'm sure the safeties and linebackers can divvy up their responsibility when it comes to that. But you also factor in Christian Harris had a violent tackle on kick return. He had 4 tackles. Jamal Hill forced a fumble that gave the Texans an early 2-possession lead. So I thought it was a decent, pretty solid day for the linebackers.
Yeah, pretty good day. I mean, Henry To'oTo'o and Azeez Al-Shire and most of those guys they're not equipped with the ability to consistently defend a guy like Trey McBride. Like, he's going to get his against them. I think as far as those top 2 guys, McBride had a perfect day when he was covered by them. But the tackling and the physicality that they do bring and some of the plays that they do make, it's a good job by the linebackers.
Beyond good. There's no doubt about that. It was beyond solid for them. Then the DBs, we're going to combine the corners and safeties here. Derek Stingley has an oblique injury. We'll see what happens. What a physical mother trucker he is. We talk about Kamari Lassiter a lot, but Derek Stingley right off the top, just right in there in the run defense. Then forces a bad throw. Jacoby Brissett probably would have picked it off if it had been a good throw. There were a couple catches on Stingley, or maybe one, but outside of that, he was fine. And then you have Kamari Lassiter doing what he did, battling all week. I thought the corners were fine. Safety's not great. Not the greatest performance by the safeties. Probably could have been better. Jalen Petrie had the 4th down penalty that extended the Cardinals' drive, leading to a touchdown. Got to think he had a hand in the McBride thing. Kalen Bullock, really good near the line of scrimmage. I thought he was fine. Couple of deflections as well. He did well. Miles Bryant tried to jump a pass that resulted in a 1st down. But other than that, nothing terrible. But the corners I thought were good. The safeties, probably a little bit of meat left on the bone for the safeties.
Sure. And I do wonder too, like, when there's not a Trey McBride to account for, can there be a little bit more out of the safeties? Did some of their attention and having to try to stop him keep them from making plays elsewhere? But it's not like they were getting, beat up by everybody that the Cardinals were throwing the ball to. Like, it was really just McBride and a couple of Wilson plays where you could say, oh, the safeties and the DBs could have done a little bit more. Like, nobody, including who I did not know was on the Cardinals, Pharaoh Brown. Nobody really had anything going through the air besides McBride.
Wait, what? I didn't know even around.
Pharaoh Brown's on the Cardinals, yeah. That Pharaoh Brown. And they tried to run a touchdown play for him, and it got totally just demolished by the Texans defense.
Didn't even notice him.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
God, he loved him some Pharaoh Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams obs A+, as good as you could expect. They were definitely the strongest of the 3 phases. Special teams, hell of a day by them. Might have been a close game without him, honestly. Between the Noel setting him up on the first drive, Noel leading to 3 points directly on his 2 kick returns. I think he had 118 on 2. The 3 points from Jamal Hill, the 4 field goals from Kaimi Fairbairn. The special teams were beyond solid.
Yeah, excellent. The only hiccup was the block field goal.
And then the coaching obs. I'll say this. I thought the coaching was fine. They did what they needed to do. I didn't watch this and say, damn, Nick Caley did a really good job. The pessimist in me kind of just wonders, like, how does Jawar Jordan get discovered by mistake when the running back position has left so much to be desired? But the good news is they now have an opportunity to kind of build on that blessing. But I thought the coaching was fine. Nothing terrible. Nothing great.
Better in the first half operation than they have had.
Well, you got the ball at midfield. That's easy. You're right. You're right there on field goal range. It's one play.
Okay.
It's fine.
You're telling me that they couldn't have fucked that up before?
Well,
they certainly have.
I don't think it was the same situation. It was an inferior opponent. You were up and you got the ball at midfield.
Sure, but if it's just, was it better than they previously have done? Yes.
I don't even know how you compare the two.
Well, there's context to everything.
I know that's what I'm asking. I'm asking for. I'm providing it. You're saying it was just better. I don't think it was better.
Did they get an opportunity to kick a field goal?
Well, they were already in opposing.
Did they kick the field goal?
They were in opposing.
Did they have to get into field goal range? Did they have to make plays and manage the clock and time to get into field goal range?
Barely.
It's a yes or no. Did they have to move the football and manage the clock to get into field goal range?
Barely.
Yes or no, Landry?
It's not the same.
I know it's not the same. I'm not saying it's the same.
So I can't say it's better or not. I guess you can. Whatever. That was a different situation for me. Jawar Jordan. God, this guy lost a lot of money, people. This guy lost a lot of money. Goodness gracious. Is that ramen? Izzy says Jawar Jordan, good fantasy pickup for this week. Question mark. I would not recommend that if you're in the playoffs.
No. If you've got like a really deep dynasty league, maybe, but no.
HCAV Traveler says, afternoon, Landry, Cody, and friends. Victory Monday. Great building block for the rest of the year. But it was the Cardinals. #Feds. Feds was fan experiences in disguise with the crowded press box. I brought that up yesterday. HD's loyal. I said there's a lot of fan experiences in disguise.
Yeah, there's some folks that don't come to work. That's for sure.
That's what I said. So outside of you being overly impressed with Nick Caley at the end of the first half,
that's not what I said.
Is there anything else?
Let's actually, why don't you just actually say what I said?
Outside of your love for Nick Caley, is there anything else that we need to discuss about this game before we give the Texans turf Kings of the Turf?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just kind of looking through my notes here and just kind of perusing. Okay. It's pretty well covered. Pretty good on third down. Jawar Jordan.
Rick says Landry's getting Cody as mad as losing this bet. No, trust me. That's where his frustration is. I think
we covered it. We're ready for the Kings of the Turf.
On the chat, I'm not the same passionate fan from a couple years ago. We are more professional now as reporters. Sign Cody.
I thought that was pretty professional, to be honest with you. Thought that was pretty professional. Hold your teammate accountable.
All right, so let's look at the real quickly, and I'm sure we'll break this down tomorrow on the off day.
What are you laughing at?
What'd you just drop?
I knocked my drink off my desk.
Cody's tense right now.
I'm not. That was an accident.
All right, we're going to get to the current playoff picture, but first, courtesy of my boy at Texans Turf, Dan the Man. If he can't do it, no one can. Always green, always clean. None of that slimy stuff that you get from most turf companies. Let Dan do for you what he did for me. No more insects, no more mud. Perfectly safe backyard, better looking home, jealous neighbors, and the right price, the right service, the right customization. Shout out to Dan the Man. TexansTurf.com. We do it every Monday, Reaction Monday. The Texans Turf, Kings of the Turf.
Kings of the Turf for this week. I thought it was pretty clear who they were. A little offensive-minded Kings of the Turf. Nico Collins, you get the game started the way he did. You also have the other touchdown as well. C.J. Stroud, excellent game, efficiency, accurate, managed things really well. And then Jawar Jordan, first 100-yard rushing game of the season, most rushing yards by a running back this year, longest rush by a running back this year. I mean, absolutely has to be a king of the turf in the NFL debut for Jawar Jordan. Great job by him. So Jordan, Stroud, and Collins, your kings of the turf here for the win over the Arizona Cardinals.
TexansTurf.com. There you go. Those are the Kings of the Turf here on Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU.
I don't have rent. I have a mortgage. Okay, thank you. But I am buying less football cards this week because of Phillip Rivers. Stupid idiot. Maybe I'll go get me a Jason Myers card because he's the only Seahawk that showed up.
Dominic says the Spank boys are so back. Yeah, I want to go to Spanky's this Saturday. Cody can't go because he lost all his money.
That's not.
He can't go twice. He can go to BB's. He'll be at BB's out there in Kingwood this Friday. He can't go to Spanky's on Saturday because he lost all his money.
That's not
because of Phillip Rivers. So, yeah, I want to go watch the game with the people. Cody does not.
That's not true. That's not true. There you go, lying about me again.
All right, so the current localized playoff picture. Texans really don't get a lot of help outside of Indianapolis losing yesterday. Really not a lot of help. Buffalo, man, New England almost helped, but they were up 21-0. They blow the lead. Buffalo stays in that 6th spot, one game ahead of the Texans. The Chargers, they're doing fine. They're at 10-4. They've actually, I don't know how they've been able to hang on like they have. And then Baltimore and Pittsburgh is something to keep an eye on. I would like Baltimore to be out of the playoffs, but you can almost make a case that being the 7 seed and going to New England from a Texans point of view is better at this point than being potentially the 5 seed and having to go to Baltimore if they win the division. You make the case. I don't know whether you would buy it or not, but I think you could. If you asked someone, would you rather, let's say that the Texans end up getting up to the 5 or whatever. The good news is you wouldn't have to go to Buffalo, which I think is the most important thing. In any scenario, you wouldn't have to go there in any scenario. The bad news is in the first round, you would have to go to Baltimore instead of going to New England. Like if I asked you, would you rather go to Baltimore or New England in the playoffs? Where would you rather go?
I'd rather go to New England.
Yeah, I don't care what is happening with Baltimore. I would too. So that's kind of the weird thing is that the 7 can almost be better than the 5, but the most important thing is avoiding going to Buffalo, which I'll be honest, if you asked me to pick the AFC winner right now, I would pick the Buffalo Bills. Let's be completely honest with you. I'd pick the Buffalo Bills.
I have a hunch that we will not know who the 5 seed is, or the 4 seed, who the 4 seed is until Sunday Night Football, final game of the season. Because it very much looks like, based on the schedules, that it could come down to Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, final week of the season, deciding who's in the playoffs and who's going home.
Yes.
So we may not, if the Texans somehow get to the 5, which you can jump the Chargers by simply beating them. You'll need somebody to help you against Buffalo. That's why Mike Vrabel and the Patriots blowing it yesterday stinks so bad, because you could have got a little bit of help there. Doesn't seem like the help's coming. So, but if you got to the 5, you may not know who the opponent is until the final time slot, which is that Sunday Night Football matchup, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. If it is for the division, I got to imagine that's what they'd make the Sunday Night Football game in the final week of the season. Vrabel complaining about holding calls today. That was so whack.
Oh man, that's a low point for him.
That's so weak. And I highlighted it here on the screen. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. E for the Kansas City Chiefs. See you later. Not making the playoffs. Go home.
Yeah, they're done.
Bye-bye.
Dunzo. Yeah, that's really like, do you have to go to Buffalo or not? And again, beggars can't be choosers. It would be an AFC championship game. So most likely, yes. Depending, I don't know. I feel like it's all, it could be all, like right now, if you told me, like if we looked at the playoffs right now and the Texans are going to New England, I would probably pick the Texans. The Jags are hosting the Bills. I would definitely pick the Bills.
Yes.
And then the Chargers are playing the Steelers. I would definitely pick the Chargers. So that would eliminate like all the top 3. But then you look at it, and then all of a sudden Buffalo's hosting a divisional game, and the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC goes through either Los Angeles or Buffalo. So yeah, it would be.
I would tell you that it's highly likely that Buffalo, if they don't end up winning the AFC East, it's highly likely that Buffalo's 5, the Texans are 6, and the Chargers are 7.
Yeah.
So, but I would welcome
Jacksonville. You go to Jacksonville, you send a limousine there.
Yeah, I'd welcome a trip to Jacksonville for the Texans. I don't give a damn if Trevor Lawrence has had, 5 games in a row of killing it, whatever. I don't care. You'd be happy to go to Jacksonville, and then see how the chips fall and see where you end up going. I mean, the Chargers could absolutely go cross country and beat the Patriots. They could absolutely do that. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but they could absolutely do that.
Yeah, it's very wide open. And then Philadelphia is in an interesting spot because they got Buffalo in 2 weeks. How much will they need to win? That's the other issue. But the hope for Buffalo to get the help. Cincinnati pissed it away and New England pissed it away. And quite frankly, if you're paying attention, maybe neither one of them pissed it away. Josh Allen's just playing like the best player in the league right now. So there it is.
What a freak. What an absolute freak.
And the Texans do own him, but it's not in Buffalo. There's a big difference there, especially this time. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. Indianapolis kind of gets off your back a little bit. You hope Indianapolis loses this week. You handle your business. If the Texans win out, then who the hell knows what happens? They should win this week. They're already a significant favorite, and then it gets more interesting, and the picture gets much more clear as we move forward. Will the Jags jag? That's the other question. They got Denver this week. Denver's only a 3-point favorite. Denver probably wants to get that 1 seed. Not probably. They definitely do. So if Denver can help you out this week, depending on tiebreakers and all that crap and how it goes, then this could be a lot of fun. It already is a lot of fun, but it could become even more fun. We want you to join us live for the fun this Friday. BB's, Tex Orleans, and Kingwood. Cody will be there for this one. Might walk on his tab because of Phillip Rivers. And then he definitely won't be at Spanky's on Saturday because he doesn't want to watch college football and he doesn't like the college football playoff. He doesn't want to chill. So we're good. We're good on that. All right.
Okay. Yeah, sure. The Heisman Trophy voter doesn't like college football.
Let's not talk about that. The challenge flag on that one.
What would your Heisman Trophy 1, 2, 3 have been? Pavia,
Mendoza, Pavia, and then Love.
So we were one player different.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Anyway, subscribe, like, ride along.
Don't bet on the Seahawks.
Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether you're losing wagers in more ways than one, we're all
ways
in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye my money.